introductions, I'm Miss Fagler, and I'm back up here again at Winder for first grade again this year.
I'm Miss Rainey.
I'm Mrs. Navina, and I'm new to Winder Elementary.
I'm Dr. Wiggins. I used to teach 5th grade and 4th grade EIP, and I'm in 1st grade this year.
My name is Ms. Cross. This is my first year at Winder.
I'm Mrs. Cole, and this year I'm providing EIP support for reading and math groups.
And we have some of our support teachers here as well, for ESOL and SPED support.
I'm Mr. Wellington, I'm a special ed teacher, and I see some familiar faces.
I'm Mrs. Reese. I'm ESOL. I'm Miss Webb, ESOL.
And we have some other paras that also work with us too, that come and help during our day as well.
Okay, so this is our first grade daily schedule. So we begin our morning at 7 to 7:30 with arrival and breakfast. And then we start off our day at 7:30 with our morning meeting until around 7:45. And then we begin social studies and science, which is until 8:15. And then after social studies, we begin our ELA block, which includes phonics, writing, grammar, reading, and small groups. And that lasts until 10:55. And then we go to our lunch from 11 to 11:30. And then after lunch, we begin specials from 11:40 to 12:25. And then after specials, we go to recess until 12:55. And then after recess, we begin our math block, which is calendar, our math mini whole group lesson, and our small groups. And then after math at 2 o'clock, we begin our dismissal.
Very full day.
Yes.
Alright, so this is some of the curriculum that we are using this year. Some of it might be familiar if you were here in Barrow County last year or here at Winder, and some of it might be new to you as well. So for reading and writing, we're using HMH, so that's just to help us with their reading skills, comprehension skills. We do a lot of read alouds in their books that they're following along with us. Sometimes we do big book read alouds. We do a lot of work with vocabulary and just understanding how to answer questions about what we've read. So that's the same as what they had in kindergarten last year, so that's not really new. It just might be up a notch from what they were required to do in kindergarten last year. For phonics, all of first grade is using Fundations. Some of them got that in kindergarten, some of them didn't, so it might be new to your first grader this year. But for phonics, we're really focusing on being able to decode and encode, so read and spell words with specific phonics patterns. We'll also learn trick words, so like what you might call sight words that don't really follow a specific spelling pattern, as well as working on handwriting and letter formation. And I know some of us that have started sending home homework, you might have seen some of this already to be working on at home, because that's the big building block that they need in order to be able to read on their own, hopefully by the end of the year. And then for math, we also use HMH as well, which is the same as they did in kindergarten. And these are just some of the topics that we'll cover this year in first grade. We just finished up our shapes unit with 2D and 3D shapes, patterns, counting, skip counting. We're about to work on place values, so being able to break apart tens and ones, whole lots of things that we cover in math. And then we also do a daily calendar just to build up some of those routines, like talking about the weather and patterns, and just reviewing anything that we're not currently working on. So a very busy, full schedule in both reading and in math.
All right, ways you can help at home is reading with your child. The expectation is to read about 15 minutes. A lot of us are have sent home books or are sending home books very soon. Decodables, some nonsense words, maybe some passages, some phonics sheets that you can work on. And reading aloud to your child is very important as well. And that can count towards the 15 minutes. So phonics homework, we don't have a traditional spelling test or anything, but we do put like the trick words, like she said, put them in our newsletter so you can always review those. Any phonics homework might be, I put it in a reading pocket, so it might be words for them to read or some extra practice. Math homework pages is in a math workbook. I put it in my newsletter, y'all put in your newsletter what lessons to work on, what module we're doing, because we skip around. And then ways you can build math skills are just like counting by tens, counting by fives, counting by ones, counting backwards by ones when you're with your child, playing card games. And then also checking the weekly newsletter and updates about what we're learning in class.
So this is how we will be grading your first graders this year. It's a little bit different than maybe their report cards that they got in kindergarten. So this is the scale that we use to show where they're at with each standard. So on their progress reports, if they get an A, that just means we haven't covered that standard yet so far, and it'll come up later in the school year. In D would be they're not yet demonstrating it proficiently on their own. They still need a lot more help. They're still struggling with it. EM is emerging, so they're making some progress, but they still need a lot of support from teachers to get them to where they need to be. Developing is DB, so that means that they're making more progress. They're a little bit more independent, but maybe not consistently showing that skill just yet. Demonstrating is we consistently show how to do that standard. We know it. They can do it by themselves. And then emerging is they can do it without any help. Maybe they can do it on the next grade level's skill as well too. So at this point in the year, when we first start sending out progress reports, you might see some emerging and developing, and that's okay because we want them to grow throughout the year. So if you see that right now, don't panic and don't worry because we have a lot of people and teachers here to help them eventually get to that demonstrating or exceeding the standard too. So if you see that first report card and you're a little nervous, that's okay because they're going to grow throughout the year. And this is just a quick look of what that progress report will look like. They get grades for reading, writing, grammar, math, science, and social studies, and also behavior. So that scale will be shown on each trimester that we have for how they're doing, and that way you can compare, like, are they making growth in this standard, or like we see some areas that they need to work on. And if that is the case, then we have EIP teachers that can help make plans and help fill in those gaps if they're not yet meeting the standard.
So I'm going to talk about assessments. We do have a lot of different assessments, but we like to frame it to the students as this is how the teachers know how to help you. So even at home, as they might say, oh, I have the math test coming up, just reassure them, like, this is just so your teacher can see what you know how to do, and it provides us with a lot of information. Teachers also love acronyms. So for example, this one's called the MAP test. MAP just stands for Measurement of Academic Progress. We take it in reading and math 3 times a year. We just took it about 2 weeks ago. We'll take it again in the winter, and then we'll take it again in the spring, just so we can track their progress over the entire school year. We also have another test called DIBELS, which just stands for Dynamic Indicators of Early Literacy Skills, also given 3 times a year, but this one focused specifically on reading, and they actually have a timer, and it'll be a page of words or a passage in front of them, and the teacher will say, okay, just read as many as you can in a minute. This is just more indication of how they are progressing as a reader. Some of our assessments that align more with our curriculum, as Ms. Wagner mentioned, we use the Phonics Curriculum Foundation. So we give these at each phonics unit about every 2 to 3 weeks. The first one that will be coming home that you'll see is just handwriting and sounds, and then the next one will be actual words, and we'll eventually progress into words and sentences. We also have math module tests at the end of every unit. There's 18 math modules in the whole first grade, so you'll start to see those come home as well. And then brand new this year, we have reading module tests that are also given on the computer, similar to the math test. It's new to everyone this year, so we're trying it out, but it's going to be at the end of each reading module, 10 questions, and only the questions and answer choices are read to them. So there are going to be some short passages, so if you're not quite yet that fluent reader yet, you might have a little bit of nervousness about that. We're just telling them, pick out the things that you do know that you can find, and the questions and answer choices are read to them. So again, we're trying to frame it as this is to help the teachers, and so we can provide you with a clearer look of how they're doing, but we don't want them to be scared of tests. We do have a lot, but again, we're just framing it as this is how you are going, and this is how we can support them.
I don't know, I'll do it. So attendance and transportation, if your kid's sick, obviously we want them to stay home so they don't spread germs to anybody else. If they're sick, you can send a handwritten note that just says that they weren't feeling well that day, and we can turn them into have an excuse for their absence. You can also take a picture of a doctor's note and send it into us that way as well if you don't send in the actual physical note. But after 5 unexcused absences, or something that we didn't get a note for, you'll receive an attendance letter. So just make sure that if your kid is out, that you send in something so that we have on record that we know why they were out. And the same thing for transportation. It has to be a written note for us to know if their transportation's changing for the day. If for some reason you can't send a physical note, like it was a last minute change, we'll ask you to call the office to let them know so that we have on both the teacher and the school's end that your child's going home a different way. And that's just to make sure that we know for sure how they're getting home.
Okay, general reminder, red communication folders that are sent home weekly. Please check and return them in a timely manner. There's one side that says papers that can stay at school, and the other side says papers that you can return to school. Please label jackets and water bottles with your students' names. Anything that you have, if you have like an extra change of clothes in the other side, which is a good idea. I know I've already had a couple of accidents in my room or spills. And headphones, if you haven't sent in a pair of headphones yet, if you could please send them in, because we do use computers daily, and if you want to label those with your child's name as well. And to continue, check your child's backpack to make sure they're not bringing any toys to school, because sometimes they'll keep those in, and they can get lost or cause distractions. During snack, please only send one small snack, which we'd like to encourage healthy snacks like desserts or candy, and water with your child. Like some kids, I think, are sneaking Kool-Aid in their water bottles, so we just want water. And no candy or sticky or spicy foods, or juice or soda, just to keep it all standard.
And then just to be connected with what's going on at our school and in our classrooms, make sure that you have Parent Square downloaded. That's the app that we're using this year. We're no longer using Remind. It is very similar to Remind that you can message, and we'll send out posts from the school and from teachers, so make sure that you have that so you can with all the updates that are coming throughout the school year. And that's all we have. And do you guys have any questions about anything? And if not, we can talk to you afterwards too.
And if you didn't get one of these sheets, if you don't have Parent Square downloaded, or you need the portal, parent portal, we have these in English and Spanish where you can use your phone and download those with this sheet. So.
With a parent portal, that's what they do.
Yeah, and so in Parent Portal, any new phone numbers that have been changed, address, emergency, if you want to add emergency contacts or take away, and your email, you need to go into Parent Portal to do that. So it has the information here as you go out. And that's it.
Thank you guys for coming. We appreciate it.
Okay.